Hey everybody, today I'm going to start part one of Luke Pierce's El Camino. So I've been doing a couple of these videos of customers' cars that they let us film, and I figured I'd do a couple different videos on Luke's car, El Camino. We just wrapped up this, a 69 Camaro, 68, don't quote me on it, for Mike Martin. Badass, this thing's been around for a while. Mike's a badass racer, Outlaw 10.5 guy. It's a big nitrous motor, 4 kits, just finished this one up. Came out great. I think he's coming towards the end of the week. It's a Lanco with a Bruno drive, put a smart wire in it, MSD Pro 600, Holly Dominator. He's new to fuel injection with this car, so this one should be really cool to watch. So let's get on to the old El Camino here. So Luke has been a customer and friend for a while, and he had a G-body that he got into an accident with and decided to put together an El Camino. So he brought it to us. We're going to wire it, plumb it, get it up and running, whatnot, help him out. It's a dual fuel drag and drive car. So he built, in full disclosure, he said that he's rebuilding his fuel tank because he hates it. I don't know why, but whatever. So this is the methanol side, and you can see there's a seam right there. And then that's the pump gas side. That pump hat that's there, we're replacing it. I'm waiting for the one to come in from Holly. It's got a dual Walbro 450 pumps. The reason we like to use that one is because they're internally wide, so it cuts down on fittings. It's already got it's a lot nicer than the majority of them out there. So that's really what the main reason is. So we got the majority of the plumbing done on this thing yesterday. We're still waiting on the pump hat, so we only have hoses ran here, and I'll show you underneath of the car. This thing has a slew of really awesome parts on it. A lot of stuff that we sell. We carry the majority of what he has on this car. We're a dealer for the majority of the companies, or it's stuff that we kind of exclusively carry. So let's go over this thing. It is an El Camino dual fuel drag and drive, vintage air, right? It's a Pete Harrell at HED, Harrell Engine and Dyno, built him a pretty badass LS. Yeah, you heard me say that. I'm not a huge LS guy, but when you build a good quality engine, it doesn't matter what it is, what platform it is. And my gripe with the LS community isn't necessarily the engine. So it's got dual HPT 7875s on it that we were a dealer for. So these turbos they've outperformed every other thing in their class by a mile. They're extremely light. I believe with V-band housings and everything, they're like 24 pounds. So very light, very efficient, make tons of power, make more than enough power for him. He did the headers and the hot side, the cold side. The charge pipes are off right now because I have the radiator out, because I brought it up to Matt at Performance Fab to have him weld AN bungs on the radiator, and I forgot to take it back with me. So that was my screw up. Anyway, Turbo Smart straight gates. So these are pneumatic straight gates on the hot side. I'll go over setup on this when the time comes, and we'll tinker with control strategy and whatnot with some videos of that. But they're on the hot side, they're not on the cold side. A lot of people ask me, how did the pneumatic gate work on the cold side with my personal car? So many people asked me, and it got so annoying before I was even able to really do anything with it, that I pulled it off because I was sick and tired of answering the questions. So that's who I am as a person. So it's got a Holly low rim with dual injectors. So this one was a little bit tricky to figure out, and if you're interested in doing this, just know that these are Siemens Deca 2000s. They're a thin pencil body, okay? and they're EV1 or well, I think it's LS1 full height. It's a full size injector. And then this is an AFIS 400. So notice this is an unmodified rail mounts, the whole 9 yards, but the injectors are free and clear. They don't touch each other, right? I mean, you can slide a piece of paper in there, that's about it. But they fit, they will work. So if you're looking at this Holley low ram intake with the dual rails and you want to look at a big body injector, the AFIS injector is the same outside diameter as all the other big body injectors. So it's not necessarily that the big body injectors don't fit, it's that you have to be conscious of what you're doing with the small pump gas injectors. If you were buying this intake to just run it on a single fuel, they make a little adapter. I think Tick Performance makes a little adapter that goes in here and it adapts it to one fuel line. So if you wanted to run like 2 sets of Bosch 210s or something, you can do that as well. But in this scenario, it's dual fuel. So drag and drive is becoming more popular, and for good reason. I think more and more people are realizing that you sink a boatload of money into these cars. You sink a bunch of time. You ruin relationships with your significant other over these cars. You know, your stress relationships, I should say. You put a lot into these cars, right? And the idea for the younger crowd that's really getting into the drag and drive stuff, the idea of putting all this money into a car and not being able to hop in it and cruise it down the road isn't necessarily appealing to a lot of people. A lot of people got into the I just want a race car thing for years, and now we see a large influx of people coming over to drag and drive from their race car saying, you know, I have this race car, we push it to the lanes, we push it back. I spend 15 minutes a month inside of this thing and I've got 200 grand wrapped up in it. They come to us and they say, let's make this thing a drag and drive car. I want to be able to drive this thing on the road. We help them along the way. Maybe we wire it, maybe we plumb it for them, maybe we just sell them parts, maybe we just advise, whatever it is. And they end up being a lot happier because they get to use the car a little bit more. That's not to say that race cars aren't awesome. I love race cars, love going to the racetrack, but to each their own. People like different stuff. The drag and drive community is growing. In fact, there's a guy I know on Facebook who had a race car and he recently converted it over to a drag and drive car, which doesn't take too much. A little bit of intelligence, a little bit of money, a little bit of thought process, and you can pull it off. And he just messaged me actually last night saying, like, man, this was glad I talked to you about this. Like, this is the best decision I ever made. I love driving this car. I drive it to Cars and Coffee. I drive it to little car shows. I drive it around town. It's awesome. So if you're on the fence about building a drag and drive car, just know that it's not just a drag and drive car. It's also a car you can hop in and go drive it to dinner. It's also a car that you can go to your local little cruise in and hang out with. And it's also a car, depending on how deep you go, that winds up embarrassing race cars. So the goal here for Luke is to have a cool hot rod that he enjoys driving around, and he can compete and survive drag and drive events and be competitive with himself, not necessarily with everybody else, but he has goals for himself, and I'd much rather see people get on board with goals for themselves as opposed to I got to beat so-and-so. So with that said, let's talk about a little bit of the plumbing that we've done. So Fluidworks, which is a company owned by Motion, they just released these not too long ago, and it's a 90-degree regulator, right? So we've got an inlet here. So this is the pump gas system, okay? Right now, we're using this one for the pump gas system. So we've got fuel coming into the regulator here and fuel coming into the regulator here, and then this is a return. This cleans things up quite a bit as opposed to having, they're normally 180 degrees apart from each other. So what you have to do is you either come off the rail with a 90, it runs into the intake manifold, right? You come off to this rail with a straight, then you got to put a 90 here, and then it's hanging way out front here, right? So this cleans it up a lot. I think these are good for 3 to 6 gallons per minute. They're working on the big boys now, for the mechanical pumps. So excited for when those come out. We'll be putting this in one of the big ones on my own personal car. So really nice regulator, really small, really compact. They were smart about it too. So like they made it so that you can clock this top hat. So if you want your CO2 port or your map reference signal to come out somewhere else, you can. They also gave you not one, but two 1/8 inch NPT ports for your fuel pressure sensor. So like if you wanted to put your fuel pressure sensor here and maybe a mechanical gauge there or whatever, or if you just want to plug one and it's more convenient to put it there, big fan of it. So this is the aeromotive regulator for the big mechanical pump that's underneath the methanol cell. So these have been around forever. As you can see, 180 degrees apart from each other. Makes the plumbing a little bit more cumbersome, right? So we had to do a 90 here, then another 90 here to run it back behind this return fitting, right? So, but either way, this regulator works fantastic for the big mechanical pumps. And it's way better than that red, like tall, ridiculous regulator that everybody used to have to use. So, we use all Brown & Miller hose and fittings on this thing. Nicest stuff out there, super lightweight, flexible. This is the high temp poly, the HTP. We sell this stuff. We don't really advertise much of it because honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. There's a 6% margin on Brown & Miller and it's just not really worth selling for us. But we use it in-house. So yes, we can make you hoses and stuff via mail order, but it is quite a pain in the ass because you have to, one, it's expensive, and two, you have to clock your fittings the way you want them, unless you want to spend a bunch more money to buy dual swivel fittings. I'm a big fan of not using swivel fittings. Notice this fitting does not swivel. There's no O-ring here, so that's another spot for this fitting to leak with this O-ring. And that's not what happens necessarily all the time with Brown & Miller, but that's typically what happens with a lot of fittings over the years. They fall apart at the swivel. So I like to use non-swivel fittings. Plus the swivel fitting is a little bit bigger diameter here, a little uglier. So swivel fittings make it easier to work with, but I think that you get a nicer, more streamlined fitting that doesn't swivel, in my opinion. So anyway, we've got fuel coming in from the back. So right here, we're gonna go into the car here in a minute. This is our methanol system. It's two 10 AN lines coming up. 10 AN crosses over into this, another one here, 12 AN return. And then we have a 10 feeding the filter underneath for the pump gas from the pump hat. Goes up to dual 8s in the back of the rails, comes up 8, 8, and then we've got an 8 return right here. All right, what else we got? Oh, let's look at the rest of the stuff we're gonna put in this car. So, here's something neat. A lot of people are probably gonna be really interested in. This is his air conditioning compressor. So, there we go. This is the compressor. This is the controller. So this is a brushless electric air conditioning compressor. Don't ask me how it works. I mean, obviously it works because like you put 12 volt to it and whatnot and it runs and it compresses the goods and then you get the nice cold air. I'll go over how we wire all this up and make this work. I don't have the stuff to charge air conditioning, nor do I want it, but I'm sure once we get it charged up and whatnot, we'll report back how well it works. But this, you need to run their controller with it. I believe Luke said he got this off of Amazon, I believe for an RV. I think that's what it was. It was like an RV or some like retrofit for like an electric car. I don't know exactly, but I'm interested in it because a lot of cars don't have the room to put an additional accessory up here, right? So this bad boy down here is to drive the fuel pump cable. This is for motion, and the cable will go back and hit the Waterman fuel pump in the back of the car. So he doesn't really have the room. Most cars don't. So we're gonna put this bad boy somewhere else in the car and probably realistically close to the battery because from what I've read, this thing is supposedly draws about 60 amps. So, we'll see. We are also installing a Lifeline 360 Novec fire suppression system. So this is Novec 1230 is the chemical. It's what we use in my own personal car. Love it. Obviously, I haven't deployed it. You start reading about this. This is what they use in Formula One. The way I look at anything that Formula One uses is they don't have a budget, or they do, but it's so absurd. So if they use it, there's probably a good reason, because they have enough money to do whatever they want. So when I started doing some research, I decided I wanted something smaller, a little bit more lightweight, a little bit more compact, and then I started like viewing how it suppresses fire, watched a couple videos on it, and was really impressed. So that's why I went with this. He's following suit, doing the same. He's doing a mechanical system in this car. I have an electric system, kind of, you know, up in the air, whichever one you want. The electric system, you have to push a button. Mechanical system, you pull a cable. So we're putting a sound bar in the back. So he's got tunes, motion racework stuff all over the place, right? So turn signal switches going in this thing. This is a little adapter for the fuel pump drive cable. Little side note. These right here are from Mad Racing. You've seen these in other videos of ours. This is the EGT bulkheads. We use Mad Racing setup for EGTs. There's his probes, pretty much exclusively. And the reason being, a couple reasons. One, he provides nice black plugs, okay? Two, all of his probes are really long, so you can cut them to length, and they're black jacketed. So you can cut them to length how you want, right? So some of the other kits out there, they come with predetermined lengths. Maybe easier to do initial installation, but for somebody like us, where we can modify this type of stuff in-house pretty easily, why not, right? It's way nicer, cleaner installation. If you're gonna do these, my recommendation is get one of those like Milwaukee oscillating tools and get a little 3/8 wide bimetal bit for it, and it'll cut a firewall beautifully. It comes with a little template, so you can stick it on the firewall and cut it out correctly, but that little oscillating tool works great. Okay, as far as electronics go, Dominator. He colored this in with green, safety green, I don't know. Dominator. We have the CAN bus EGT module, right? So that this can talk to the ECU, or those probes can talk to the ECU via CAN. Profiler, so this is for traction control. And there's an injector driver module, because we've got a second set of injectors that we're gonna control independently. And then the hardwire PDM28. We have been selling a boatload of these. Every customer that's gotten one has been very happy with it. I've done quite a few of the CAN bus setups with our customers via TeamViewer. I've done a couple of videos on how to set up inputs and outputs and yada yada. This thing's pretty awesome. It is, if you don't know what this is, it's a power distribution module. I've made other videos on this, so go watch them. Relatively affordable, in my opinion. These are like, the PDM28 is like $1,900, I think. Don't quote me on price, but I believe it's like $1,900. This thing replaces all your relays and all your fuses and yada yada. And then it can talk via CAN, not only to the Dominator ECU, but also to a keypad. So this is a Blink Marine 15-button keypad. Each one of these buttons has 3 functions, or up to 3 functions, right? So press it once for function 1, twice for function 2, third time for function 3, and fourth time turn it off. So if you wanted to do whatever you want, you know what I mean? Like low beam, high beam, whatever you want, right? This is a dial. And these dials are also buttons with up to 3 functions. So this could be used as a dimmer switch. This can output voltage to the ECU to use as a boost control and a timing knob, whatever you want to do. And these are also relatively affordable. I think these are like in the neighborhood of $350. So we sell the PDM28, the PDM25, and the PDM15. And then we also sell all the Blink Marine keypads, and we also make a PDM28 flying lead harness. That comes with like a pinout sheet, so that you just plug it in here, and it comes with Excel, or it comes out with printed out sheets that you can read and say, hey, this yellow wire does this white wire does that, the green wire does this. Run them to your inputs, to your outputs, yada yada. Program it, and you're up and running. there's companies out there that are selling like wiring kits, right? In upwards of like $3,500, $4,000, and they have no control. This is all programmable logic control. Look at a PDM. It's 2024, grow up. Throw away your terminal strips, get rid of your cheap Chinese relays, look at a PDM. If you don't buy a PDM from us, I don't care, that's fine. But look at a PDM. They're nice, they work great. Very easy to change things. Functionality expands dramatically with a PDM. So anyway, I'm going to get to work now and figured I'd show you a little intro to Luke's car. I'm pretty excited about this one. So it'd be cool to see him all jazzed up about this thing. So we got a lot of work to do with this. This is a little bit beyond our typical scope of work when it comes to just like, hey, wire it up and fire it up. You know, we have to mount a bunch of stuff. We have to make some stuff. We have to like buy a lot of parts for this thing. But actually, here, look, I can zoom in without even going up underneath of it. There is the FluidWorks by Motion single inlet, dual outlet fuel filter. That's super nice. And then that's the one for the methanol system. I don't think we're gonna be able to see this one over here. No, we're not. No. But anyway, I got the pump gas one over here on that frame, down there, in the middle of the car, back there on the frame rail with a Motion flex sensor on it. So anyway, next video we'll go up underneath of this thing, show you how to do the fuel pump drive cable, yada yada. So anyway, hopefully you like this thing. I like it. Should be cool. Air conditioning. We got a truck bed. You know, we're gonna have 2,000 horsepower on tap, some shiny wheels, and what's not to like? So, all right, see you.